Wait, Koven, can you sweet talk it?
Yo, why are you praying?
You gotta make it feel comfortable, man.
You have to sing endless to it.
Yeah, you gotta rub it first.
Yeah, you gotta say something nice to it.
I say ugly.
What the hole?
What the?
What the?
What the?
Alright.
You good? Time?
Give it a little intro here. We got a theme song going on.
Alright, welcome to the Lab Podcast. This is probably the pilot episode 0. So, we're just testing things out. You can kind of introduce ourselves, get in the flow of things. My name is Henry. I go by the artist name Biosphere. And I'm joined by...
Koven Wei.
My name is Ryan. Is my mic picking up? It vibrated. It vibrated a little bit.
Damn, you vibrating?
Jeez.
Like you when your mic...
What mic is that?
It's a SM58 too.
What the fuck? Why is it so cracked?
What do you mean? It's probably a newer
It's
model.
teched out.
It could be a newer model. I don't know.
It's kind of sick.
Well, today we're mostly going to be talking about, I guess, why we started the podcast in the first place, what Lab is about, things like that. Because I think at the end of the day, why we're doing this is, well, other than our own vanity, of course, but I think it's important for us as, what we believe in a lab and things like that to be, talk about things behind the industry, advice. We're also young adults trying to figure out in the industry as well. So it's a good learning experience, not only for us, but for other people, We'll probably be learning ourselves when we get guests on the podcast and talk about certain things in the industry. And hopefully, you guys listening as well will, find something educational or something like that. So, yeah, I think the first thing we're going to talk about today is just what Lab is about. Why did you found Lab? Right here, Mr. CEO.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, they always ask why it was started. I don't really think there was a big picture when it was doing it. I feel that wait. I'm gonna turn and look at you.
Hey,
I feel like it's those combos.
Yeah,
bro.
look me in the eyes, bro. See all the love I have
This
for you.
is so weird, bro.
Now you want to look at him?
Okay. I feel like, yeah, I honestly, I just feel like for a lot of people,
Why? Why are you laughing?
dude, it's just
Bro, it's too much stimulus for him. This is too much for him.
no, I'm playing. Okay. I guess there's a lot of people that just didn't really know what to do, or at least in a sense, just didn't really have role models in life to look at. But even beyond that, Lab was just started as purely it's almost like a science experiment. The fact of a laboratory, because I just always think it's yo, one person who's creative can make a creative piece, but when you mix so many different multidisciplinary artists, what kind of work are you gonna get out of that? So that was it. It was pure curiosity. It wasn't anything really grander than oh, this is gonna become this is gonna become that. It was more just for the sake of seeing what's happening. And I think a majority of the honestly, it's cool because getting so many different people in different parts of life through my life and bring them together was just interesting because everyone just somehow could do different things, and surprisingly a multitude of them. No one was really what's that word, to be in one spot or to be put in one place.
Kind of boxed in?
Yeah, that's a good word.
Okay.
No one was boxed in, so it's really cool. I always describe it to people as trying to assemble the Asian Avengers.
You really think we're the Asian Avengers?
Asian Avengers.
Who's Iron Man? You?
Who's Iron Man? Tony Stark. I feel I resonate with Iron Man the most.
You Tony Stark?
Yeah.
Who's Captain America then? Ryan?
You either be.
I don't think I'm American.
You're probably Hulk.
Yeah, I like Hulk.
Yeah.
Angry.
Okay, but post Snap Hulk, the
Well,
combined.
I mean,
Hulk.
honestly, I'm the worst person to ask because I'm not really a Marvel person.
Oh shit.
Sorry. I just go to watch because, your high school
It's
friends say you go to watch.
the Mark Ruffalo smart combined Hulk when you
Yeah, he can speak English.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's more like you.
Yeah, I don't want the the non-speaking kind of just angry. I feel like that's not really.
That's you
me.
off the Buddha mom.
Yeah, off the Zaza. You know what I'm saying? Once I get the Zazas, then that's the one with the early Hawk.
Yeah. So why did you join Lab first of all?
All right, Journal Lab. Honestly, kind of go back basically back then, you know, we used to like me and Koven. We used to do like there's like he used to have this clothing brand called like TBC back then in Markham, and I was just getting into photography too, so it was kind of like we worked together a lot. He'd make like the clothes, and then I take the photos, and like it was a good kind of first like creative experience, you know, just like doing your own thing, which is kind of cool, and like especially when you're young, you're not really sure like what you're doing, but it's just cool to make stuff, right? To be with like other people to make stuff. I guess like fast forward it, I went to school for like media production at RTA, and I felt like surprisingly I felt like I wasn't really doing that much to help my craft. You know, I was kind of just like going to school to get by, and like I think I was like a lot of people just like figuring themselves out. You know, like I wasn't really too in the creative scene in university. But so after I graduated, Koven like hit me up again. He's like, yo, I'm doing this thing like lab, you know, we used to like work together. So I was like, do you want to come and like try it out? I was like, yeah. Do some stuff, videoing, doing a lot of video now. And then
What was the
maybe
first
we-
project again?
technically the first lab project was Endless with like
oh
Paul
yeah,
and Jackie.
that's true. Yeah.
So, you know, if you guys want to watch that, you go, it's a really good music video.
Hey,
you
but
know?
it's the first one.
It's the first one. I think that was the first like unofficial one. You know, like I don't think lab was like a thing yet, but it was like in the speaks. So it was that one, and then fast forward to now, we're kind of getting, I guess, more involved with like doing lab stuff. You know,
Mm-hmm.
co-founding.
Yeah. I don't remember how our conversation came about. I feel like we just did that event like right before COVID.
No, it was St. Catherine's.
Oh yeah, it was St. Catherine's.
That's a whole
Moonbase.
whole nother thing.
Yeah, that was
too.
like an arc, bro.
Holy. Now I think that one, like, just for the people that don't know the story, like I remember, so like we got these two homies, like Nico and also Rare.
Shout out.
Did I even know? No, I met Rare. I think we met Rare at Moonbase.
It's because Nico went to the same program as you.
Yeah. Because I met, yeah. And then like basically Moonbase, like I don't, obviously I can't speak for their title, but they're pretty good at the like creative agency stuff. So they do a lot of like just like creative rollouts for artists. And like I remember because like I was trying to like, he's like, yo, you should pull up to Moonbase, and I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I'm down, because like it's cool. I want to see what they're up to. And then he was just like, oh yeah, come through St. Catherine's. I'm like,
St.
bro,
Catherine's a
St.
bitch, though. Niagara Falls.
Catherine's. That's like an hour and a half drive, and I was just like kind of like, obviously like I was just like, it was weird because I'm like, yo, what is like happening in St. Catherine's?
Mm-hmm.
And then like, yeah, so I didn't really have like the best expectations for it, and like honestly, like I was like kind of like clowning a bit like about like the idea of St. Catherine's, but yeah, like going in there like just blew me away, because like Moonbase itself was like kind of like outside was like just like this red brick like building, and it looks like it's a little shabby, but it's kind of cool too. It's like cathedral height, and then like when you go in, it's like absolutely stunning, like black
it's a nice
wood,
studio.
black,
Nice
like
studio.
everything. It's like made for like creative, like it's so modern for like
Yeah.
how everything else is, and like yeah, like honestly, I was like happily like proven wrong to like my like belief. Like I realized I'm like, damn, like even in a place that's a little more remote like St. Catherine's, there's still like a lot of creatives like just trying to do something. So that was really cool. Like shout out Moonbase for sure. But I think that like all really spun like the gears of kind of like that thinking, because I was like, yo, like who am I to like say anything about like St. Catherine's when like I'm from Markham? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like when you tell people, it's like if you ever meet someone,
I'm from Markham.
like you never tell mans you're from Markham, bro. You're like
I say
you
you're from Toronto.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
from
no, no.
Toronto.
You tell, this is the tag. Anyone who's not from Toronto, you say you're from Toronto. And then if they're from Toronto, then you say
Yeah, you go
specifically where you
specific.
are in the
Yeah,
GTA.
yeah. So like obviously like if you ever say Markham, like people are gonna be like, what is that?
Yeah, what's Markham?
Yeah, so I think it was
Grocery
like
stores, you know, Asian grocery stores. That's
That's
what we're
true.
known for.
actually for the
Asian
food.
too, but you know, we got Food Mart, we got TNT. You know how it is.
Yo, why are you
Fresh
giving
Way.
a shout out to them, bro? What?
You know, they'll sponsor us eventually.
All right, bro. But yeah, like I think what do you call it? Yeah, then basically I realized I'm like, damn, if they can do this, like why don't I create something in Markham? Because I think a big part, like just like even the history of lab is like back then, like I think Markham, they had actually a lot of creative like councils, like creative like basically like clubs. So there'd be actually like clubs that like
okay.
individual people would start. So in high school there's like 4 or 5 of them.
So in high school or like in the city of Markham?
like in the city of Markham, but they're run by high schoolers.
Oh.
So like different schools, they would have their own club. Basically, it's not a school club though. It's
It's like MTAC. Are you talking? Is that what you're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about?
like arts councils, like
Arts
Markham Teenage
councils.
Arts Councils. I was in one called Creativity Through Arts. There's like 4 or 5 of them. But what they would do is basically like, I think the biggest thing they would do is like they would try to do events like coffee houses and singing and shit. And like also like, yeah, they would just try to host a lot of events. But I think more importantly, it was like literally how high schoolers met each other. Because like, you know how in Markham, like, yo, if you don't like actually have friends in high school, like you can't really like meet new people
Yeah,
because
no.
you're not driving either.
Yeah.
So like you literally like just don't really know what's up. And then I think those things was really important with like those like student councils or whatever it was, because you get to meet so many new people. And that's how I met Ryan basically. Because I was at one of the events, and that's also how I met like a few other people too. Like, and it was really like a huge thing. Like they don't do that stuff anymore, but that's like one thing that I wish
like
like
for
Why
sure.
Do you think they stopped after COVID, or were they?
I think
they
it's
stopped
COVID.
even before COVID.
no, they still no, they're still doing
They're
it,
still doing
but
it.
It's, probably
just
not
like,
at the scale that we used to like.
Yeah,
not as involved.
like
as
it was
we, like,
pretty big. Like we're saying like 20, 30, like
yeah.
20, 30 people each council.
Oh wow.
Like people wanted to feel something, like feel identity, right? So I think that's another reason that goes back to lab is like, like beyond like even like putting a name on Markham, which like I don't really feel specific ways about it. It's more like I just want like this place to grow as a hub for like those like kids, because there are so many, and you know this too, like
There really is. Yeah.
there's so many kids that are really talented in Markham, but they just don't have like a platform, or they don't have a goal or like a role model to look at.
Yeah.
Like I always say that like our school, specifically St. Robert's, like I always call them the weeds between the pavement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
we really are the weeds in the pavement.
yeah, it's like in
That
such
school
a
is-
like a place that's like not as like creativity, like it's not really embracing it.
Yeah.
You still have the weeds still grow so strong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's really academic oriented school with like the IB program and stuff like that. So to actually have like creativity or creatives coming out of that school that have done a relative major impact in their industries is actually pretty interesting, I would say.
St. Rob's, right?
yeah.
I think like just in general, like Markham is like a very sheltered community, which is like it's good and bad. Like when I grew up in Markham, I went to school a bit for Richmond Hill, but it's like all Asian people, it's all Chinese, all Indian, so forth, and Korean, Japanese, all the Asian diversity that you can find. And I think what that built is obviously like a sense of community where like obviously you see people who kind of like grow up or come from the same background,
Yeah,
immigrant
That's a big
parents.
thing, yeah.
Everyone's trying to like be very studious. But I think the bad thing was that because we're so sheltered and so like peer pressure to kind of like follow these traditional paths, or whether like your friends or like your parents kind of like expect you to, I think like in return, it's like there are a lot of like creative people, or like creative young people in Markham, Richmond Hill that have a lot of potential, but it's like as they get older, they've actually like, don't get to like choose that path because like you get pressured to like follow like what your friends are doing, what your parents are doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is
felt
like
that, yeah.
ironic too, because especially like Asian parents, like they make you like go to like all these creative things as a young kid, like piano class or art class, and then like after like that, they're just like, yeah, you gotta go like do business or math or like a lawyer or something. And so I think I was also lucky enough where like when you meet people that kind of are like doing like creative stuff, like you guys kind of like push each other to kind of like try out new things and do it. But I think what most important it is that building that community where like that career path is possible. Like it's hard, but it's possible and like it's doable,
Yeah, I feel like the role model thing was a big thing for me because like growing up through high school and stuff, like I feel like Asians in media is very new wave, like new thing. You don't really see too many other than like, the famous like Bruce Lee's and things like that. But in like media, like the first time we really saw a breakthrough, let's just say in like Hollywood and things like that was like Crazy Rich Asians probably, right? And in terms of mass media, and then it became Parasite as another one. And then in terms of music, it was probably like 88 Rising at the time for us in high school, where the first time in mainstream music, there was like a label trying to break through Asian talent. And as a high schooler, like doing music and, just the usual, just FL on the laptop, in the classroom, just making beats and stuff like that, posting on SoundCloud, like 88 Rising was such a big deal. And it made me feel like I can do it. Not because of like talent or anything at the time where that I like felt like I had what it takes, but it was just like, yo, I can see there's someone in the industry that's also Asian, that's also passionate for music. and they're doing it, that means like at least I have a chance. You know, like it's possible. Like they already did it, maybe I can do it, right? So as I got older, I feel like, you know, as a kid you don't think about it too much. Just like, oh, like he's Asian, he can do it. Like Rich Brian's fucking cool. Higher Brothers is really cool, like Chinese rap and things like that. But as I got older, I didn't realize how important it was, like to facilitate that sort of platform and the growth. And yeah, definitely really appreciate it. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I joined Lab as well, was to be able to, yes, provide that ourselves and be able to give a platform to other creatives that like had a similar background, or, you know, have the talent but may not have like the resources or, you know, the confidence to be able to achieve like these sort of dreams. And, you know, I think it's really important for a Lab to be able to do that at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like with the whole Asian thing too, is like everyone like has like a very similar story. You know, like being in second gen, like just like a second gen like Asian, like they all like even though they're all like kind of different in a sense, like that's why like there's so many like Asian memes or like stuff like that, is because a lot of people have like very shared experiences. I think like it's kind of weird too though. Like I feel like definitely want to be like a place of empowerment for a lot of like a lot of artists too. But I think it's like a fine line and a border too of like what it means like to like push or also bring Asian culture. Cause like, and this is like I've always thought about this too, is like there wasn't like a reason why it was like selectively Asian. Like why we work with a lot of Asian people.
Yeah.
It's literally just because we're from Markham.
It's just everyone
It's not
around
like,
here is.
I think it's like not, we like don't try to like purposely put it like as a, like a Asian like only like collective or like trying to feel it. I think it's just the idea that we naturally like lean towards like working with those people because it's like shared experience and so forth.
Yeah, exactly. So it's more like the fact that like end of the day, I think the art always speaks for itself. And like we just, the art has to be good. Doesn't really, the culture doesn't have as much, it has influence in the art, but the art itself needs to have a standard. And it's just like the culture gets like moved with the art. And that's like how I always wanted to see it. I mean, like, as I said, like coincidentally and just by like situation, we work with a lot of Asian people, and it's fucking sick because we all have like very similar shared experiences. But yeah, like I think it goes back to the whole like role model thing too, is like, you know, like now I feel like now, the kids are even younger and they're doing more like crazy shit.
Yeah,
like
they're actually cracked.
There's like kids on FL like hella early now, and now that everything's on the internet too.
Yeah,
like it's sick. Like you see so many kids like moving and like pushing on stuff too. And like the more younger, I feel like the younger they are, even just being young serves as a role model for like the young kids. Like, it doesn't even have to be culturally. Like any kid just looks at it, is like, damn, this is crazy. So yeah, like we're hella lucky. Like literally, I feel like we're like that first generation to be like even have role models.
Yeah,
in the thing, because
the generation before us, I feel like they kind of just had to, not necessarily the short end of the stick, but there just wasn't this cultural wave.
They had to like make it kind of.
Yeah, they
like,
just had to do it themselves, and then now we're like being like we're reaping the rewards of that, but like they kind of paved the way for us to be able to do it, what we do now, right?
Trying to like, I think it's like building on the foundations that they've made.
Yeah,
and like trying to see. I mean, honestly, it's good like that we have so many role models, and like, you know, I think for us early on was like Andras. You know, shout out to them who like kind of helped us out with like getting the ropes in or the production, and just I mean, I think like for example, like they're a company that we kind of look up to a lot too, and yeah.
I feel like and the generational difference is like not even like a generation in a sense. It's like even like 5 years is a huge difference.
Yeah, it really is.
Like I think the culture moves so like fast right now. It's just like like I feel it's like exponential as like crazy. Like it's literally like crazy.
Probably the
now.
age of the internet.
Yeah, just like everything
so
is
fast.
shorter. The trends are shorter too. So things just like move like so much faster.
Social media era.
Yeah.
TikTok, things like that.
Yeah, like I feel like, have you noticed that too? Like after like that one Asian thing succeeded, like it just like everything fucking like busted out, and I was like, whoa, like now it's a lot. Just actually like honestly, I see just as much as Asian stuff now, as much as like just like in general, like even in the movies, like a lot of the actors now are like they try to cast like Asian people too.
I think it's what happened is it's normalized now, right? So there's just you don't really like think about it. Before it's like, yo, cool, there's like an Asian guy, like the token Asian guy in a movie. But now it's just like, okay, like the actor, like this It's more diverse.
Yeah.
In general, right?
Which I
Don't
think
think
is
about it.
like
Yeah.
what
That's what
you
you want.
want,
Yeah. It's
right?
cool,
You just
cool.
want people just to be themselves. Like it's not
Yeah.
like you're hiring them
It's kind of
specific.
it's
for
not
what
like
it
in the
is.
we didn't start doing what we did because we're Asian. Like
Yeah.
we just did it because we love to do it, and it just so happens that we're Asian.
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
just so happens that there was this wave of breaking into mainstream media and having representation and stuff like that. And that's really cool, I guess.
Mhm.
Everything kind of just like fell in part.
Yeah.
Like it's like very all coincidental, like situations that just all like ended up working together.
Yeah, and we just so happen to be in like an Asian hub in the GTA, so it's like
Yeah.
kind of a perfect storm of everything. Yo, Lab's been around for like 3 years now, right?
Yeah,
Going on to
almost
3 years?
Going to year 3, I think.
Going into year 3 next year, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
like
pretty
June.
crazy.
Isn't I think no.
Isn't that-
July.
Was it like?
It's
Wasn't
year
it
3
during
now.
winter? Right now is year 3.
I think year 3 is now. Yeah, July is probably the
Oh.
next year. Was
So
the
we're
year.
going to year 4.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yo, shit moves fast. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like. Do you feel like we would have made it this far when we first started?
Nah, I mean, I think this is me personally. I think the way I work is very like I like to think short term.
Mm.
So it's never. I mean, you need a bit of both. Like you need to have a long term goal. Like you need to have some place where like you ideally want to be to kind of like push yourself. But I think for me, I've always been short term thinking, like just taking opportunities as a go. Like, and I think that was the same for like when we were all came together, like to start like Lab as a collective. Is like we all didn't really know what we wanted to do, but we just wanted to have a platform and have a community to kind of like just chill and like kick it. You know, I think like what I was saying before, like having someone who understands the language, you know, understands the creative language, understands like what it means, it's really important. And so I think we were just kind of doing stuff. And like, I personally don't think I would have seen like us being where we are now. Not to say like we're anywhere close to the goal of what we want to be as Lab, but to see like all the projects we've done, all the people we've met, and like just everyone individually at Lab, like growing up was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that was cool. Especially at our age too. Like, I think when we started, some of us were only like 20,
Yeah.
19 even, and like we're at, like the young adult stage where everyone's trying to figure out life and figure out identity and things like that. Like to see that, like that pinnacle of growth. Not even the pinnacle. Like just seeing that growth in this stage of life.
Yeah.
Like, it goes by fast.
I would say it. I mean, you guys can like jump on this. But I do think it's like good and bad. The bad thing is like when you're young, because everyone has like different priorities and like values and what. Like you're still like figuring yourself as a young adult. Like things, I wouldn't say not happen as fast, but when there's so many people, it gets a little like everyone's still trying to figure things out. And so I think personally,
I see what
for-
you're saying.
yeah, I think for Lab, like the first beginning stages was just getting a gripe on like how do we like proceed, because to be honest, I think running a collective is very difficult, and especially the more people you have, like it's just hard
'Cause, like,
because everyone's trying to figure
They're
out
buying
what they
into
want.
this idea of Lab, but everyone still has like their own personal agenda.
Exactly, and like even like exactly not to anyone's fault. It's just like everyone's just like figuring themselves out, and so that's what I think is the bad part. But obviously the good part is like you're very ambitious, like you really like are open to doing things. And I find that when you're early into your career of just like doing creative stuff, you're actually more inclined to experiment and like just push yourself more. Whereas I find like when you're a little bit older and you're a lot more established, like you either don't have the time to like finesse your skills, or like you're just doing the same thing. The
Yeah,
same.
more like
So,
stability.
yeah. So that's my thoughts. But you guys, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for time, like time has definitely passed. I would honestly feel like time passes like slow and fast at the same time. Like
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 3 years.
yeah, like sometimes
That was
it feels like a lot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like when you really break down and look through, it's like there's a lot of like core memories or like things that you just went through that makes you like realize like damn, like it's like 3 years, like they weren't like wasted years. You know what
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean?
for
Like
sure.
they're just like you just
A lot
you
of
just-
learning.
Yeah,
lessons.
yeah, exactly. And like I think the thing is too is just like one thing I noticed, like especially like being young in the creative industry, is just like there's like a big pro and con to it. Is that I think for like the cons is like just the inexperience, because like I think the majority of the time when you're learning a new craft, like, and this also goes back to role models too, like you just don't know like what the fuck you're doing. Like you're literally just doing whatever, like you just trying to figure it out. And I think there's a lot of struggle and also a lot of like difficulty or pain that goes into like just trying to like hone that craft especially when you don't really have anything. Now that the internet's out, that's kind of a little easier, but like I can't imagine what it's like to learn like certain skills like when there's no internet.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
like-
I couldn't imagine it. No way.
Like that would be crazy, right? So some of it's like all from like just like raw like nowadays like to learn stuff, or when you like don't really know what to do, you just have to try it.
Google search, YouTube.
Yeah, you just Google search and then you just try it
TikTok
yourself.
even. I've learned more about FL Studio and TikTok than I have like my entire life.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think that's like I think the con of it is like being young, obviously, like I guess it's getting slowly solved now because like a lot of people are like, you know, like with the access of internet, they can learn a lot of things. But I think going back to like the bigger pro that you can get out of it is that I think like the more that you like have like, and I guess this really depends on some people too, but I feel like the more inexperience you have or you don't have a knowledge of a certain thing, you just think more outside the box. Because I feel like if you like look at what's traditional or you learn what's under traditional sense, like you kind of just like work in that like workflow. But if you don't know like shit, like you actually just don't know anything, you come up with things or like ideas or like workflows and processes that might have never been made before. So oftentimes like I think it works a lot, especially with like whether it's like music or video too, is like a lot of the inspirations or a lot of the workflows are like all kind of like they reference off like previous things or also like from things that other people have done, but in its sense it's like its own formula.
Yeah. What do you feel like was maybe I guess the biggest lesson learned from the first year? Because I mean, we definitely had some issues in the first year. Like not everything went smooth. I think what we accomplished was great, but I know we've had like talks over the years about how we can do things better, where like there's definitely a lot of processes that have changed since then. So what do you feel like was your biggest takeaway or like biggest lesson learned from that first year of doing lab?
Is there like, are we going from like 1 to 3 or are we like
No, just like
overall?
in that first year mostly.
I have like the first one would be like, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying before, like when you first start off, like as a collective, like you're just making shit, right? You guys are like we have a very diverse background, and I think that's why Lab as a team is very strong. Like you have people from the music background who like not only know the music industry, but they also know like the technical sides of it, like producing, songwriting, whatever. And also the video side too. Like I think we have a very strong like photo and video team, and like we're very good at being resourceful. But I think the hard part when you're starting out is that obviously you're gonna have to deal with like no budget, low budget, shoestring productions, but you're still trying to make things work. Hardest part was like, how do we have like people involved? I think like that was a big thing for me, was like, because Lab, you're dedicating so much time, and a lot of time, like to be honest, it's like it's not like a financial like you might not always get financially compensated, and that's just the nature of the creative industry. It's like low budget videos, whatever, but how can you like show what you're able to do if you aren't able to like just do it? And so I think that was a challenge, because like people, I feel like when there's not enough projects to go around, it feels like people can't get involved. And when people aren't involved, they don't see themselves part of Lab. They don't see like, quote unquote, the company that they're building. And so I think trying to tackle that has been a challenge, and I think it still is. But I think it gets better as you take on more projects. The budgets
like
get bigger.
Roles are more defined.
Roles
like
aren't defined. But I personally think, at least on my end, like as much as we will still kind of like do the collective, do the agency stuff, I think like in order for Lab to like sustain itself, it needs to operate at like a level of a business first. Try to figure out like what our resources are first, and then like once we have a little bit more flexibility, we can start like working again on like the platform and collective and the community state, which is still like with like very like brand identified, like that's who we are as Lab. But like just any company, like it needs to first be able to like sustain and live.
Like the figurative lights, keep the figurative
it
lights on.
It needs to stay
and
alive.
the physical lights on.
Yeah, I mean, like what's like the fire, right? Like the fire needs to be burning, and if that burns out, then you can forget about all like the collective and like all that stuff.
Right. How about you?
Yeah, I'm trying to like think.
I feel it was more for you because you're Mr. CEO after all.
For me, like
thinking.
No, honestly, like I think it's hard for me to answer, like, because like at the same time, it's like since everything was so like fluid, like as in like abstract in a sense of people just trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
There's not really like like there is learning experiences, but there's no like overarching thing because like it wouldn't have been learned anyways if it didn't happen or like
Right.
these things would have happened.
Right.
So it's hard to say like I think the biggest learning experience like in that sense is like I think it's just like patience. Like I feel like it's just like everyone like it goes to the point like it's really hard to start stuff up, especially when you don't like know exactly what you're doing, like you're doing for the sake of it. But I think slowly, like in a good side too, like everything because of like situations or problems or like projects, right? Like it would slowly chisel itself into something. That's what like kind of just happened. And like I like as much as I could like thought in like foresight to like really have a plan or like to like think of like something in the future, I don't think I would have thought of it because I came into like this whole industry without knowing anything from the get-go. Like there's literally like that's why, as I said, it's part of inexperience because maybe if I was like late 20s or 30, I would have had like an easy like direction. Like I would have had connections built up to like certain things, like know exactly what to do because like that's what I spent like building up back then. But because I came into it with like literally like zero experience or knowledge in like certain things, like all I really could do was like learn or had to like, what's that word? Like bide my time to figure things out. So honestly, like the biggest lesson I learned is like I would have like been more patient with myself. So instead of like thinking or stressing so much over like what could have been or what would be, I would have just focused on myself more and just like sharpen, like metaphorically sharpen the knife. Just like get better at my own craft, at whatever I'm doing, and like kind of like just keep doing things as they come. Obviously, that also goes to the point where like I would still be proactive and look for like, people to work with or like opportunities or things to do. But like I feel like a lot of the mental or like the stress or pressure is kind of like within yourself, Like I would have like
Right.
I would have just kind of like what's that shit? Like it's like cliche, like believe in the process or trust the process.
Yeah.
But it was hard to trust the process that you didn't know existed. So I don't
Right.
yeah, like it's kind of an answer, but at the same time it's hard for me to like give a specific thing.
Yeah, like
you know what I
a
mean?
specific takeaway. No, that's true. Yeah, I feel like I agree. I definitely there's not like one major takeaway. First, I asked the question too. Yeah, at the end of the day, there wasn't like one thing that I can point out. Was like, okay, like that was like a big lesson. Maybe for me personally, I felt like I had a lot of character growth, like just like maturity and things like that. And in the process of finding identity and figuring myself out, I also learned a lot of myself through working in projects with lab and other people and things like that. Because I think at the end of the day, like one of the most fulfilling things in my life is working in a team, whether it be in a band or in a sports team. And lab is a team as well, where like working with other people who come from different backgrounds that have different mindsets, like you'll definitely clash, or you'll definitely have moments where like you butt heads, where you disagree on certain things. But I think what makes it fulfilling is that you get through all of that together, and then you are able to like create something that all came from our collective minds into something tangible, into something physical. Whether it be filming music videos or filming ads or releasing merch, releasing music and things like that. It's like that is the most fulfilling thing, and to be able to do it at this stage of life with like-minded people with a bunch of people that also want to contribute and get your project done as much as like they treat it as their own project. Like I think that's an incredible thing to get like so many people believing in your ideas or the idea of lab and things like that. So I feel like the biggest takeaway for me that year was just like learning a lot about myself and then growth as a team. And I think that was really cool.
Like manifesting these very like ambiguous ideas and then having everyone have a role to play to like put it into projects, like put it into like a physical sense. Like, I mean, it's crazy, like all the stuff that we do, like, finding set locations, finding actors, and like despite like not knowing, we're able to like pull through. And I think like those experiences, like, I don't know, I've always heard it before, like people, I don't know if we're biased, but like people always like to have fun on our sets.
Yeah.
And I think we like to keep it like that, like just keep it very communal and like just know at like a very humble level that like none of us actually know what the fuck we're doing. We're just trying to like do shit. And like, I think there is that honesty that we have with everyone is like why I also like think we learn a lot from other people that we've worked with, like whether it be like, you know, DPs and like all the set people and like even like the music sessions that you guys have, like other people, like we just like learn so much. But I do think like that was the one thing that kind of helped too, is just like being humble and like just trying to like learn and like know that like like lab, you know, we like to pretend we know what we're doing, but we only know until we like figure it out after and it looks all clean, you know, the final product, but it's usually very messy.
Yeah. And I feel like, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but like when you approach other people and just like, yo, like keep it real with you, like maybe we don't know what we're doing or we're looking for like some advice or guidance, they're more than willing to, like, because you're out front with them, like they're more than willing to accommodate that. That like they'll either guide you or teach you or give you the resources to be able to finish what you need to do or whatever you're asking for. And I feel like that was a huge learning experience for me, because I feel like asking questions wasn't my strong suit until like getting into lab, and then it was just like, yo, like you should ask a bunch of questions because that's the only way you're gonna figure things out, right? Well, that's the only way people are gonna be willing to help you, is coming from that learning and humble like mindset, to be able to like, yo, like we really don't, maybe we learn certain aspects in this industry where we have experience in it, but like these other things, like, yeah, we have no idea, so we need help.
Yeah, we have no idea, but for any clients watching, we know.
Oh yeah,
don't
we're
worry.
like totally experienced.
Yeah,
like,
we know like the whole finesse. Like, don't even worry, you know, hire us, you know, we're good. But you know, on the real note,
I think one of the, like the big benefits is just like, because you like, it's like a benefit of even having like a lack of knowledge, just because you can approach things so differently. You know, like literally, like if you don't know something, like you'll learn from other people because you're more willing to, and then also like you might come up with something that's never been like done before. Like I feel like a lot of the like approaches when it comes to doing our projects are all very fluid. Like it's more like, it's not like there's like a necessarily concrete way of doing it. It's like finding a way to finesse it. And it's because there's such a strong, like I always feel like audio and visual is so interconnected, even to the equipment too. Is like, it's like seeing things in a different lens for like, I think in just in general. Because I feel like a lot of the stuff that we do, it's not like we have like big budgets, or it's not like we have like super like what do you call it, like super crazy equipment.
we're
But
like
it's,
bare bones
yeah.
team, like skeletonal team.
but that's like, it's like a good thing in a sense too. It's because you know how to like really like use things to like the best of your advantage as well.
like being resourceful.
Yeah. So I think it's like, it's cool. Like I feel like this is like, at least personally with me, is because I did a lot of like the producing stuff with lab, is like I really didn't know anything. And because I didn't know anything, like I would just try different things, and like some things actually ended up working like really really well, you know. So like, and like if I would like, let's say went to like school for producing or whatever, maybe I would always be like boxed into that mentality. It's like, oh, if this doesn't work out, I'm not gonna do it. But it's because I didn't know. I'm literally just figuring it out. And some of the ideas that I could get from that, I think feels a lot more like, it just, I don't know, like I just call them finesses. Like you just end up
Yeah,
finessing
just finesse.
things a lot like easier.
But you're not finessing mans. We don't finesse mans.
Yeah.
a lot,
No, we
you
don't
know?
finesse
Yeah.
mans.
Yeah, I do it for the. I'm doing it for the budget, you know. Like I just try to. I try whatever it is. I try to make it happen, right? So it's like, I don't know. Like, it's
Have you
just
found that
interesting.
maybe some of one of your ideas or like processes that were like unconventional, like per se, that like an actual like industry producer like talked to you about, was like, yo, that was like a really cool idea?
Yo, I wish.
No.
I don't know enough producers, bro. But like,
Yeah.
I feel like just like I think the biggest thing is just kind of like the mentality. It's like the way that you like approach things. Like, I think for me too, like I'm pretty sure men's do this though. Like, especially for producing, they're like, yo, we're a student film. You know, like we're a student budget doing our practicum, shit like that. But I don't think we could do that anymore, because I think that actually depends on how many people you have. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like there's a certain set that I've heard about recently. They also pulled that card, and I feel like that was a relatively big crew.
Yeah, it's like levels. You know, you gotta.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is like, if you can feel like that could happen, you could say it. You know, this is like unethical producing hacks. But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like what I'm saying is like that one specifically, but it's more the idea of that is like, I feel like, for example, like one thing is like, you always like, especially when I work at like rental places or I go to rental places, like I'm always super nice to them. Like in fact, like I'll just try to bring like coffee and gifts and shit. And it's not just because like, you know, like I'm trying to like social engineer my way into things, but like I feel like they're really nice. and I want to be really nice to them too. And I'm sure they deal with a lot of fucking stress with rentals and stuff. And then like I think they really appreciate that stuff. So they kind of like they just help you out more.
They
you know what I
help a
mean?
lot.
That's what
Actually,
I
help a
mean.
lot.
Is like, yo, even doing those small things, like I'm sure industry producers know it. I wouldn't know. I can't even confirm it. But it's just like, yo, honestly, like it's just being a good person. Like producing is like all about quality of life. Like you treat everyone like humans. Like it's like literally quality of life. If you don't treat them well, you don't treat them good, your production's gonna suffer. People are gonna be unhappy, and people are just like, it just doesn't work. So you literally just have to like figure out ways to make people happy and like just like do things like just increase the quality of life without like overspending on your budget. Like I even think like even a small thing too, like going from like fucking Tim Hortons coffee to like Starbucks actually makes a big difference. Deadass. Because like you actually you don't like, not everyone drinks black coffee. Not everyone even drinks regular coffee. But
Yeah.
people like their own drinks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like even though it costs a little bit more, which is not a big difference, like 10, 20 bucks, like people actually get way happier. Because I don't know, like people like Starbucks. You know, like people just like getting their own drink. And like I could like, obviously this is all semantics. Like I could go into like degrees of how like the smallest things and stuff, right? But I think it's like it all like compiles together. You know what I mean? Like if you get like even like Costco, bro. That was my biggest finesse. One of my biggest finesse. 24 sandwiches for $50 at Costco. People don't know about that shit. Yo, that is the biggest finesse. No one can say that they've pulled unless they make the fucking meal themselves. And I don't even think they could get that much. Is like, yeah, Costco sandwiches was the biggest thing.
That went a long way.
Yeah, like
meal budget.
Yeah, I mean, they're good. It's just some variety now. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, like now
They're good. Like they're very affordable. I think it was like $50. You get how many?
you get 25.
Yeah,
That's like
25.
$2 a sandwich,
Yo, that's
which is
crazy.
crazy.
So you ain't and honestly, they're good. They're good.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna speak for like, okay, now obviously like we're a little tired of them,
It's kind of a meme.
but like
Yeah, it's
the
kinda mean.
Costco croissants.
but it's like that. That's like the mindset is like there's always like a way to like make things work. It's just a matter of like
It's the idea of
it's
the
like
Costco
this-
croissant.
yeah, it's like
you want to
thinking about
find
it.
your Costco croissants in your
Yeah,
production.
yeah,
Yeah.
Damn. What do you feel like is entail for us, or kind of building up for in the next year or two? You know, going into year 3, going into year 4. What do you guys kind of want to accomplish, if anything, or like you just kind of keep going with the flow,
Yeah.
things like that, or maybe dream projects you want to do and go into the next couple of years? I know one of my dream projects is like I want to do like a food doc, because I mean, starting as a kid watching like diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Like munchies.
Yeah,
Like
and
the
then you
Munchie
see like
boys.
the age of like YouTube food docs, like Munchies, Bon Appetit, like Test Kitchen stuff, and a lot of like solo filmmakers who like go to a restaurant or something they really like, and they just like, you learn about the backstory and they of like maybe these obscure restaurants, but like the owners or chefs have such a like a rich backstory and things like that, and it's really inspiring, honestly. And maybe that's not like necessarily like in my lane or in my industry, but I feel like I love it so much that I kind of want to.
Yo, I'm like down for that. Film like a little thing. I mean, I just want to quickly add on to that in terms of at least like the video side, and then I'm sure like Koven can add on about like the music stuff. But for me especially, I think lab is gonna be like, right now a lot of people ask us like, what are we, right? And the answer is usually we're an audio visual production company that specializes in both like audio and video, like, you know, productions. But lab is gonna be like more than that, at least for our vision.
Yeah,
I think
and that's what we're doing this right now.
Yeah, we're essentially like, I want it to not only just be like a production company, I want it to be like a culture, like a brand icon, you know, like think whenever people always ask us like, what do we kind of like to kind of like resemble, even though there's not a lot out there, I like to say like early like 88 Rising, when, you know, they had music artists that were trying to blow up. They're trying to blow up. They were just kind of doing like
content,
whatever. I remember they had like the Japanese bartender.
Oh, yeah,
they're just
that
doing
guy,
drinks
yeah,
like that, and they posting it up on like, and I think that's like hella cool because it's like it builds that sense of community, you know, and you're just gonna like, you know, just making content. So speaking on terms of like the video side, like I like to call it like we have our like A side content, which is like, you know, our like standard like videos, like pre-recorded lives, music videos, you know, campaigns, stuff like that. But I also really want to focus on the B-side content, and that's kind of like, more chill stuff like the podcast, maybe even doing like those food videos, stuff like that. I think Lab eventually, like, I want it to be a platform where people can just go and like watch stuff. And I think it goes hand in hand to like what we want to do in the industry as well, like inviting like maybe an artist over to like talk on the podcast, or like having an artist over to talk about like bringing them to like a Markham spot. How many times have we brought like people to Markham and like we show them like really good
I've
Markham
never had
spots.
this food before.
Yeah, so I think like, and again, like to Koven's point, like it's not like we're trying to put like Markham on the map or anything, or like Toronto even like on the map, but I think it just goes back to that point where like there's so much community and potential here that just needs to be like shown. And I think Lab, at least for what I want to like, is for Lab to champion that, to start like kind of like pushing it out. And obviously it like takes time, and it's good that we have help. Like shout out actually Vishal, he's in the background helping us with
That's our producer, baby.
the audio. But like these things take time, obviously, and like when you're focused on your A-side content, like it's very hard to like start doing like other stuff. But I think the goal is to start, and I think with this first episode or first pilot, whatever you want to call it, like it'll kind of start breaking us into it. But that's what I see, at least for like the video side for next year or so. Yeah, for roadmap.
And same for music. Sorry, you want to say something?
No. Like I'll say, is it my turn? Like,
Oh, okay. I'll just say for like the music side too.
Oh, yeah.
Just like a lot of times, music industry, you're just in a studio making music, where you're like talking to other artists and like connecting and things like that. I think nowadays on like YouTube or social media, I feel like a lot of the music content you consume is either like tips and tricks, or like people showing like the process and things like that. Another big thing recently was like Kenny B's like the cave style like content, where you get to see what a studio session kind of looks like or feels like. So I feel like that's something you kind of want to. I want to show how our sessions kind of go like, and the unique processes and things like that. And I think that's like, yeah, kind of like the B-side content, just like a little extra thing to just show some of the processes we do at Lab, and some content, things like that. You get to know some of the personalities here.
I think personal, like at least personal ambitions is just like, I would just like work on like more music, and just like kind of like hone like the branding and stuff more down for myself. But I would say on Lab side is just like, I think building out more of the foundations. So just like building out support to like, what do you call it? Just like prepare for anything that could happen, and anything like of variety. I think like seeing your question is like, where do you see Lab in like the next couple years, right?
Yeah,
Kinda
basically,
like that.
yeah. Dream projects. What do you want to do in the next couple of years?
The
Where are we headed?
roadmap.
Yeah. I think like going to Ryan's point, like I really agree too. Like I think it's just like I think it's definitely like I want it to be like a culture, or like a Sigma mindset, like Sigma creative mindset.
Oh, okay, I don't know about that one. That one's got a lot of memes.
Peaky Blinders.
No, I don't
compilation
think we want to
creativity,
be.
bro.
We ain't trying to do like those Peaky Blinders.
Nah, it's just like I think it's just like, honestly, like I always felt like as a creative, I've just been like an outsider of the industry. And slowly I realized, like, even though there are cons to it, as I mentioned before, like there's actually a lot of good things about being an outsider. Because like you just don't think the same way that like people traditionally do. And in that sense, like there's actually, I feel like, a lot of things that you can end up doing better, or just like think differently because of that. So like I actually really encourage that, because like I think naturally as a creative in Markham, you are in a sense an outsider, at least right now. And you're trying to find that stuff too. But it's like you learn a lot of like, you can do a lot of different things that people won't usually like expect because of that, like that situation. So I've learned more to embrace that stuff. So definitely like that's like a big thing with Lab, is like one day, building up those foundations to be able to support like, quote unquote, those like creative outsiders, because I don't think there's always one. And even now, especially whether it's music or video industry, like the idea of like how to make it or find success is so like, it's slowly becoming more fragmented and abstract. Like you can be successful doing a lot of things. So it's more like preparing like for that moments or those times to happen. Cause I don't think like a lot of these things that we do now is like something that's like necessarily like known. Like there's not like a lot of like, it's like not really like, I think there's a lot of lucrative things in this whole like industry. So it's like really trying to like prepare for like the shift, because I think there's a huge shift coming in the creative industry, especially with the next generation. So I guess just preparing for it.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, man, the industry, I feel like these days, not that the industry is moving fast, but a lot of, I mean, even like things like music genres. Like before, I felt like maybe music genre will be like a decade before like the next thing becomes popular, or maybe like at least like 5 years plus. But now it feels like there's like a new pop and genre like every couple years. I feel like hyperpop was a big one recently. Obviously lo-fi hip hop, maybe like 2017ish, but that faded. It got really oversaturated, maybe faded away. So yeah, I feel like the creative industry in general like is kind of feels like that sometimes, where things move really quick, and it is really important to stay on your toes and be open-minded about the processes and things like that to be able to capitalize on opportunities that come that you may never know. I feel like a lot of lab stuff or like some of the unexpected things has happened because like we were willing to do projects that we may not necessarily have like thought we wanted to do personally, but they kind of popped up and like we capitalized on that, right?
Yeah, I think you said it the best, but I don't know. I think like I do agree too, like with Koven's point. Like I feel like even for me, even though I went to school for like production, I never felt. And again, like I always tell people who are like in school for like film or media, I think it's very much like what you put into it is what you will get out of it. I personally think for me, like I never, like not regret, but one thing I would have done better would be like to put more like effort into it. And so even then, like even though I went to school and I came and started doing like producing or like started like shooting and like doing production for lab, it like it never felt like it was like part of the rule book. But at the same time, like sometimes when I talk to someone who, you know, really actively since like going to school, you know, like they worked on practicums, they were producing, or whether they're like DPs, like really good DPs or grips and gaffs, like I never felt like, not like welcomed, but I never felt like I was very like part of that scene. And I don't think it's like good or bad, because I think what in the beauty of that was like I created that within lab. Like I created my own version of that. And I think at the end of the day, like that's kind of the most important. It's just to like have a tribe, you know, have a place that knows you, and like obviously they work together still, and like, you know, we still try to figure out like the best way to go about with our productions. But definitely agree with you guys in terms of that point about like feeling part of the industry, or like because the industry is always like changing. But yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad. Just like those are my like reflections.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there is good or bad anyways. At the end of the day, like who's to say, as long as the production happens and people are happy, like who's to say what processes are good or bad, right?
I would say like the one thing for me, at least for the video side, is like when we were at that point where just having to wear like a lot of hats, and I think that's like all of us, like, you know, you're always doing more than one thing. I think as we kind of start to grow for lab, I obviously think we want to like build out more of that like creative collective, like have people to hop on different projects, you know, whether they're doing the technical roles or they're doing, you know, like the B-side content, A-side content. I think it's just like, I think we just need to like grow more and like, you know, work with different people. And like in a way it was hard because like I always see lab for us as kind of like our baby, you know, but I think it's inevitable to like, if we want to be successful and we really want to be like that culture icon that we're talking about, like we need to like give people the realms a little bit so that they can build something part of lab and like see themselves like part of lab. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense for sure. What are we at on time, actually? Oh, wow, we almost did our hour right there.
Damn.
What about
Yo, I lasted. I only had one juice box. I had a full
well, I have
snack.
your 3 Nutri-Grain bars.
I was like worried. I couldn't like stay. I mean, like,
yeah, this guy rationing his food across an hour.
it's like the ADHD creatives. Do you? And I think like just like side like funny. Do you find like a lot of creatives actually have like ADHD or something?
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah, at least some like form of
Yeah.
it.
I don't know what it is. I think it's just like you just think differently.
No, I feel like it's because like it's like the habit of like it's like not. I think the naturality of creatives is like you want to do shit that you like and you don't want to do shit that you don't like. Like that's just like the naturality of it. And I think ADHD like plays like a role in that, because like if you really like it, you're gonna like fucking focus on it forever. Or like, and if you don't like it, like you don't you don't really care. Like I think they did you ever see that research like a dude with ADHD watching Star Wars versus like a math lesson?
No.
Bro, like literally when he's watching Star Wars, he's just like this. And in math lesson, he's just like
It's
just like literally like back and forth. Like they did 20-minute sessions of each, and you can literally see the difference on like
Wow.
like those people. So I think that's why it's really important because creatives you literally are creative because you like doing this thing so much that you like kind of forgo
most.
everything. Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like I've met some people where it's just like, do you even like what you're doing?
It's hard. It's hard. I mean, like, especially with like, if you really want to be successful, you need to have a bit of that fire, like
Yeah.
I was talking about.
100%. Yeah.
But, you know, even with anything, once everything comes from a hobby. Like, we started this as a hobby, and then you slowly do it, professional hobby or not. But, you know, what people say, like, once you turn your hobby into your job, it's not easy as well. You just end up, like, not liking it.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's a mental roadblock. You're like,
Mhm.
oh, wow, I have to, like, this is serious now. I got to, like, make a living. You
Yeah.
know? And it's
So-
not only just, like, creating for the sake of creating because you want to do it, where you have an idea, where you love it, where it's like, okay, now there's, like, money involved or more stakes involved.
Yeah. It's always about that bag guys, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But it's a
Yeah.
balance at the end of the day, I feel like. And where, I mean, a lot of the struggle is trying to find that balance all the time, but I feel like it's really important to emphasize both parts. Because one thing, you do need some sort of income or money to keep things going, where to be able to even do your projects. That's always the struggle, right? Even for like people more experienced, is always trying to find that financial support. And the other thing is also like through that, you also don't want to lose the essence of your creativity at the end of the day. Because that's what got you here in the first place, right? That's what got you these opportunities in the first place, how you made your name. So like you don't want to like diminish that or sacrifice that for something else as well. So it's always trying to find that balance, and that I think that will always be a struggle no matter what. But the best we can do is just try our best, you know.
Yeah, try our best. And, like, I guess one thing that's helped also is just, like, keeping... When you're in a team, you can keep each other accountable.
Yeah.
And I think that's the more part. I think that's, like, biggest thing is just, like, you can never do it alone. I always felt like when I first was I got into photography, I was kind of, like, doing it on my own, you know, kind of, like, whatever. But I think, like, once you have a team and once you have a community to, like, push you, like, that's always the best. But
Way easier, yeah. Any final thoughts, Koven, about everything?
Any final thoughts? I mean, for all those, I don't know necessarily who's listening, but I think for like anyone who's trying to like do anything that they're passionate about or have like a hobby or they want to double down on something is like, I truly still at the end of the day feel like you don't really need to know what you're doing, or you don't need to like, you know, like feel like you have like a timeline on yourself. Like just end up doing it and like figure it out on the way. Cause like truly like no one really knows what's going to happen with this world. Like everything is changing. Like just start. That's about it.
Cosign.
yeah, I mean, I think we'll kind of, like, wrap it up, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Any
But-
final thoughts for you?
Yeah, I know it's not thoughts, but honestly, like, for this, I think this podcast is kind of cool, and, like, I think we'll have more people on.
Definitely do more. I think the plan is maybe I don't know what we can do for episode 1 if this is a pilot, but at some point you will see every member of lab, and maybe a one-on-one interview, 1-on-2, like 3-panel again, just so like you kind of see everyone's thoughts, because we really do have like multidisciplinary like guys, like people in production, people in music, you know, like doing different things. So it'd be really cool to get their thoughts and perspectives on industry and like their experiences and life experience and things like that. So that's kind of the plan.
Yeah,
Moving
like
forward.
have also other guests. Like we know so many.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think like there's
Definitely
so many.
bring people we know, industry guys,
Yeah.
things like that.
And then like idea like have those podcasts, podcast shorts. Start spamming lab shorts. It'll be like an outlandish take, like Koven says, and it'll be just him with like text on the bottom. We'll have
yeah,
like,
we're
the
gonna
Sigma music.
cut them out of context.
Music,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fucked.
And I think at the end of the day, the goal of this podcast is not only to highlight people in the industry or ourselves and labs and personalities and things like that, but it's also like we're learning as well, right? As we mentioned throughout this podcast, like we're learning as well. And sometimes like I'm just going to be learning and on this podcast myself. And I hope that, whoever's listening out there, like the audience, like that you guys get something from this as well as much as we are. So that's kind of the goal, the essence of why we're doing this. So hopefully we'll keep doing more in the future.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.
Bless.